This is going to be a different kind of video. You guys normally know that I do the race reviews and stuff like that, but yesterday I didn't watch the race. I was with 14 million other people watching Tiger Woods at the PGA Championship, and that was legitimately awesome. I haven't missed a race in over 2 years, so I think I'm allowed to miss one race, especially when the track is Michigan, so I think I'm allowed there. So this is going to be a race review for about a minute. This is going to be a really short one, so the race was what Michigan is. I'm not going to be negative about it because everyone kind of knows that Michigan is a awful track at the moment with the car that doesn't work at that track and nothing works. So no reason to complain. It is what it is. You've had good races for the last month and a half. And, you know, it's going to happen when you go to Michigan. No reason to really talk about it that much. Pretty much what happened in the race. The big three dominated. William Byron wrecked a little bit. Eric Jones spun out a couple times. Harvick won the race, led most laps. I mean, that's really all that happened. So, not much to talk about. One of those really forgettable NASCAR weekends, but that's okay because, like I said, when you have 36 races in a year, it's not every race is gonna be good. There's gonna be some races that just aren't even worth watching, which in my opinion, like, don't get me wrong, I'm still a big fan of the sport and I still want to watch every race. Like I said, I haven't missed a race in 2 years. It's just I knew that Michigan was not going to really give the best of races. I haven't seen Tiger in contention at major in like 10 years. The last one was the Open Championship, obviously a month ago, but before that, like, he hasn't won in 10 years at a major, and I just wanted to watch that. It seemed like the rest of the country really wanted to watch that. I mean, the ratings were up 69%. 14 million people watched. What the? That is insane. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But back to NASCAR. So that was basically the race on Michigan. I'm not really going to touch on it like I said. I want you guys to comment down below what you thought of the race. I kind of skimmed through it. I had it recorded, so I skimmed through it. And again, I just didn't find anything interesting. So nothing really to talk about. But after the race, there was some interesting things that were going around. So the NASCAR executive vice president, good old Steve O'Donnell, he was on Twitter last night and he was talking a little bit, just responding to some fans' questions. There was communication between the top execs and the fan base. You know, all you have to do is answer a question. That was pretty cool. I don't know who was asking for that. So a couple of topics that Stevie talked about were the 2019 package, the Gen 7 car. I know, the Gen 7. Oh my goodness, it's like I'm in heaven. If you don't know what the 2019 package might look like, go check on my channel the video about what is NASCAR thinking about the 2019 proposed rules package. That video kind of explains what the package is. In short, it's a version of the All-Star package run this year, but not technically close at all because the horsepower is completely different. There's no restrictor plate. It will be around 550 horsepower, but the big spoiler with the bunny ears and maybe the aero ducts, maybe that stuff will be on there, not exactly sure, but 550 horsepower definitely seems like around that area. That's what that package is going to be. Again, not a restrictor plate. It is, I know the All-Star package was a restrictor plate. That's why I'm saying it's a version of it. It's just not a restrictor plate, which limits it to 400 horsepower. It's a larger tapered spacer that gets it to 550 horsepower. Still decreasing from what we have today, which is 720, which is also decreased from what we had in 2014, which was the open unrestricted 850 to 900 horsepower. Understood that? That sounded kind of confusing when it came out of my mouth, but yeah. Again, that was a proposed package, but with the tweet that Steve replied to, so let's read that now. Andrew said these MIS Cup races are usually pretty dull, while the truck races are almost always a tightly run thrill, especially yesterday's race. How can NASCAR bridge the gap between the quality of competition? And Steve said, multiple drivers led laps today, but fair question. Stay tuned for the 2019 rules package at certain tracks could more closely resemble a truck event at MIS. Appreciate you being a fan. He was kind of hinting at that proposed package. The reason why it would look like a truck race is because 550 horsepower would make the cars go approximately as fast as a truck really does. That is not as slow as the restrict plate that they were doing at Charlotte, but it's not as fast as what they have now, not even as fast as what they have in Xfinity Series, which is around 650 horsepower. So 550 would get them around that truck kind of speed, where basically in the trucks at a track like Michigan, you basically can go full throttle, but not completely. You have to blip the throttle a little bit. You can't go full. I mean, you have to blip it. So you can take this multiple ways. The reason why this is big news is because it will be certain tracks, but in that proposed package, they had it at multiple tracks. I think the exact number of races was around 14. I don't remember. I have to go even check my own video. But it was around 14 races, which is over a third of the season. At tracks like Auto Club, which I don't get because Auto Club is nice and bumpy and rough. But Auto Club, Chicagoland, Kansas, Las Vegas, Texas, everywhere else, Michigan, all those tracks. And the Gen 7 conversation came up when Zach asked, what do you guys have planned for the Gen 7 car and when could it be unveiled? Steve answered it, which I was surprised by. He said, good question, probably a ways off, 2022 potential, still lots to sort through with our partners. If you remember a couple years ago, there was an article of Steve talking about maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, which was around that 2020 area, which is why when we talk about Gen 7, we're hoping 2020, but now Steve has kind of adjusted the timeline and it's 2022, which is still a ways away, but that's when maybe you would get a potential seeing of the Gen 7 car. Zach asked a follow-up reply saying, could you tell me if there would be a splitter on the car or not, referring to Gen 7, and Steve O'Donnell said he will leave that to Dale Jr., but my answer would be no way. So if Mr. O'Donnell was in charge of basically the Gen 7 car, which I don't think he is, he probably plays a part in it, but not in charge. It's going to be a team effort there, that if it was his way, he would not put the splitter on the car, which is pretty big news. The splitter has been very, very criticized. Very criticized. Not only by the fans, but by drivers as well. The splitter is also known as probably the main reason as to the competition gap between the lower teams, the mid teams, and the high teams. The example of this is when the splitter was introduced back in 07, and it went through all the changes with the car tomorrow and then the Gen 6 car. Teams spent so much money working on underbody to get the splitter to land properly so they can just travel through a corner at the optimal speed. And because teams spent so much money, obviously the higher end teams were able to get to that quicker than the mid-tier teams, so like a RCR. They were able to get to it quicker, they were able to figure it out faster, and kind of like how most sports that don't have a cap nowadays, if you spend the money, you end up being the best. So the team spent the money, and now you see what we have today, which is all these teams consistently try to get the splitter to land at the optimal area on the track. And that's how they gain all the speed. And sometimes a lower end team is not able to do that. And that's why they suffer so much of a speed difference from the top end teams. Other reasons include just hating the splitter when it hits the ground. Drivers just despise it. With a valence, which is very much what drivers like Keselowski, Tony Stewart, and I would say a lot of the other drivers who just haven't spoken up because they don't feel like it's in their realm to speak up, but they probably will say they want the valence as well. Valence is very popular. So this means that the valence might make a return, and again, this is all rumors and stuff. I wouldn't take too much into it, but it was kind of surprising to hear one of the execs say they wouldn't want the splitter on because NASCAR has also, their R&D guys and their Aero guys in charge have said that the splitter decreases Aero dependence from the valence. So I mean, definitely contradicting a little bit, but hey, it's all preference. There's still a lot of work to do. So that was a little bit of talk on the Gen 7. I want you guys to comment down below what you thought of just that brief little rumor that it wouldn't be a splitter. I think most of you would be happy. I think most fans would be happy. No one likes the splitter. It's funny. I want to go back to the proposed package because this is the first real insight we've got from my top exec. So that article that came out by Lee Spencer about a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, that was just a proposed plan that landed on the executive's desk, but it was never talked about from the execs in public. O'Donnell has now talked about it, that a new 2019 package might be coming that resembles the truck race. The only way you can resemble a truck race is by lowering the horsepower. You're not going to add horsepower and make it look like a truck race. It ain't going to happen. So expect lower horsepower, just don't expect a plate. I still think that proposed package is definitely where it's going to be going. I think 550, maybe add a few horsepower there, maybe take away a few horsepower here, but that's going to be around the number to achieve something like a truck race. The sad news is that news with the Gen 7 that would be coming out in 2022 maybe, that's just a potential year. That's a lot farther away than what I was hoping. The good news is you could take time to get the puzzle pieces. I'm trying to think positively here. So you're able to get the puzzle pieces in place, figure out all these different intricate details that have to go into the car to make it work. So that gives them a little bit more time to work on that. The bad news is I am 150% confident, and I don't like saying this, trust me, I wish I didn't have to say this. I am 150% confident that proposed package will be a failure. Mainly because a truck race, the reason why the trucks run fairly well is because, again, the aero on a truck is just absolutely astronomically different. Like, it's completely different to a cup car. I don't watch a lot of truck races just because I don't feel like watching NASCAR on a Friday or whenever the truck race is. I just have other things I kind of want to do or want to watch. So I don't really watch the truck races, but I've seen parts of races and the fans are very happy with them. So I get an idea of how those cars or trucks, not cars, drive. If you took the horsepower down on a cup car, put the spoiler on there, maybe add an aero duct on there, right? The big difference with a Gen 6 car is the underbody does not change. The sides of the car does not change. The airflow of the car does not change. Whether you're going 170 or you're going 200, whether you're going 120 or you're going 250, the airflow on that car specifically, I'm just talking about the underbody, natural shape of it, how it's flared out on the sides, that won't change with 550 horsepower. It won't change with 754 horsepower. It won't change with 900 horsepower. So it won't look like a truck race. I can 150% guarantee that. It won't look like a truck race. The cars will drive easier, and I don't think drivers would want that, a la Tony Stewart. He doesn't want that. They would drive a lot easier because you wouldn't be completely out of control. You'd be more on throttle time. More on throttle time is not good for racing if the aero doesn't compute with it. For example, for the trucks, the aero works for that truck. So the way the trucks are able to drive, even though they drive easier, and they should drive easier, it's a truck series, it's a lower level series, they are able to just drive better around each other. The aero on a cup car will not do that with a idea to make it look like a truck race. I get what they're going after. I get they feel like they have to do something. I completely understand that. I kind of applaud it. I applaud them for not sitting there and just like, they know the current package is horrendous at these tracks. They know they can't change the tracks until 2021. They know this. So what are you going to do for 2019? What are you going to do for 2020? You can't just kind of keep it the same. I'm just very confident, and I don't want to come off as like I know it all. Trust me, I don't. There are a lot more people that know way more than I do, but I am highly confident they are not going to achieve what they are looking for, mainly because even though what they're trying is admirable, even though they're trying to achieve a truck style race, you will not get that with the Gen 6 car. And if you don't change the car, you will not achieve the racing you want. That's just kind of my opinion on it. I want you guys to comment down below what you think. It was definitely an interesting week when it comes to like the future of NASCAR and stuff. You guys know where I stand. I need that car to be changed for me to see anything that I would resemble better racing. If we had to stick with Gen 6, I do think 2014 is probably the best way to go, which is high horsepower, high downforce. Makes the cars a little bit harder to drive, makes them go naturally faster. But you would have to add drag to the cars too. So you'd have to add that higher spoiler. You would have to add a splitter that drags just a little bit more. You'd have to add maybe aero ducts as well to make the car drag. You'd have to slow the cars down through drag so that way they don't go too fast. But I would definitely give the horsepower back in the Gen 6 just because for Gen 6 I think that's the best possible racing you can get is with high drag, high horsepower, and high downforce as well. If they try this with the Gen 6 car, it's not going to work. I can see it right now. It's not going to work. But hey, right now, you know, tracks like Michigan are horrible anyways. So whatever, just throw the kitchen sink at it. It is what it is. This is probably a really long video. I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to kind of like get my thoughts on there. So if you guys like the video, make sure to like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram if you're not already. I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Bristol night race is next week. That one, don't gotta talk about Aero. That's beautiful. So that's gonna be a fun race. I'm very excited for it. Hopefully Bristol put that grip thing on the bottom lane, make it the conveyor belt that it is. Bristol night race. Let's do it. Excited for it. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.